So, I like Pokemon. I think that's pretty obvious by now. And I wanted to try out another Chainlock video, experimenting in the Unova region. I still do plan to do that, but it'll take a little bit more research to do that run. And that got me thinking about what other runs I could do in Pokemon Black and White. Something that doesn't require too much planning, but has a decent level of challenge. So what if I played through a game with only one Pokemon? Never done that before. We've all seen runs with just a Mudkip or just a Magikarp, and they're more grindy and RNG based than I'd like. Plus, I don't like Magikarp that much. So, what if I use a Pokemon that I don't like? A few years ago, the Pokemon Company in Japan did a poll to determine who the favourite Pokemon of all time was. Greninja won. Not too surprising. But that same poll also discovered that Simisear is unanimously considered the worst Pokemon ever created. I agree. Screw Simisear. It's got poo on its head. It's in a dumb pose, and its face is ridiculous. So, here we go. I'm going to play through Pokemon Black with just a Pansear. Let's see if everyone in the world is unanimously correct, or if Pansear is just a lonely monkey who wants nothing more than to be loved. In order to ensure that we get our Pansear later on, we have to start with Oshawott as our starter. Now, I could mod the game so that I start with Pansear, but we get it before the first gym, so it's fine. Incidentally, Oshawott is also my least favourite of these three starters. Let me know in the comments which of these three Pokemon you'd pick as your starter. Now it's time to have our first battle. Oshawott fights against Bianca and Sharon in turn. I had really hoped to spend more time on these battles for this video, because these are the only battles I'm going to show without using Pansear. I'm going to miss Oshawott. Anyway, after trashing our room, we can head off. I'm going to skip ahead to when we actually get our real starter Pokemon now. You know, I always forget that Cumulatown exists, and for good reason. It basically serves no purpose. However, we do get this excellent rally by Team Plasma in Ghetsis, which teaches us about treating our Pokemon with honour and respect. I don't plan to do that with my Pansear, but you get the point. We arrive in Striaton City and finally pick up our starter, Pansear. I decided not to give it a nickname because we want to fully appreciate the glory that is Poo Monkey. It has a lonely nature, which turns out to be plus attack and minus defense. Honestly, that's probably among the better natures we could have hoped for. Now, ordinarily, I would play these games with a level cap, but I've decided not to bother with this one. I don't think it's possible to do it with the level cap intact. So we box Oshawott and get ready to fight the Striaton City gym leader, who in our case will be Silent. More out of morbid curiosity than anything, I decide to try and take on Silent at the level cap of level 14. Pansear hasn't learnt any new moves, and basically we get defeated by his Lillipup. There is a chance that if we get a crit that we would be able to get through this battle, but because he uses a potion, I don't think it's really feasible. At this stage, our problem is that he has Work Up, a move that boosts his Pokemon's attack and special attack stats. We have no way of altering Pansear's stats yet, so we can't set up. All we can do is hammer away with some damage. So right now, all we need to do is level up a little bit, and we'll come back at level 16. Leveling our friend Pansear up a few levels gives us access to Yawn. Yawn is going to be incredibly useful, possibly for the entire run. For the time being, it prevents Lillipup from doing any significant damage while all it does is set up Work Up. While it's asleep, we can hammer away with Incinerate and Fury Swipes, which it turns out does slightly more damage. With Lillipup down, Pansage is all we have left to tackle. We put it to sleep again as it too sets up Work Up. Then a few Incinerates do huge damage, and despite Silent trying to be cheeky and healing up with a potion, we managed to take out Pansage as well. I'm a little bit disappointed that we had to go over the level cap, but this is going to have to happen a lot, because Pansear is never going to clear the Elite Four if it's on level parity with them. So normally in runs like this, we take a pause every now and then so that we can explore new encounters. We don't have any new encounters this time. So instead, we're going to explore some of the new developments our Pansear gets. And one of them is this TM here, TM46 Thief. Now, one of the key parts of this run that's going to make a lot of difference is that TMs are refundable now. you can use them any number of times. So we can swap out what moves our Pansear has on the fly in between battles, which will be huge when it comes to the Elite Four, because we can tailor our Pansear's moveset to match the opponent. This includes the Workup TM that we've just got, as well as the Thief TM, and other type coverage moves that we might encounter as well. I don't think this run would be doable without being able to fully customize our TMs. Getting ready to go into our second gym battle here, and we have an N encounter. Now, I've just lost to this N encounter off camera because I was blasting through, but it has made me realise how much of a problem certain Pokemon are. So this Pidove is not a problem, but I do have to yawn and work up. While I've got an opportunity to set up, I just have to. Bear in mind we are also at the level cap. Well, theoretical level cap anyway. Just from going around and picking up items. I do also know Rock Smash now, because I think that is basically mandatory against Lenora. But moving forward, we're at +3 now. That's probably enough for us to start beating the Pidove with Incinerate. Because N's next Pokemon is a Tympole. And Tympole, I think, is pure water now, but it becomes water ground when it evolves into Seismitoad. And I believe, even worse, Ghetsis has one in the final fight. So we need a reliable way of dealing with water and ground types. Luckily, in this case, we have enough time to set up before it comes out. That won't always be the case. So some fights are going to just beat us until we can theory craft them properly. But that's a hurdle we just have to face, I'm afraid. I tried my hand at battling against Lenora, the second gym leader, with basically the level cap, and I realised that her Herdia has Intimidate. That means that Rock Smash isn't actually going to do very much damage compared to our fire type moves. Then she hits me with a takedown, which does about 3/4 of our health. Now, realistically, even if we set up with Yawn, we're not going to be able to win unless we can tank at least 1, probably 2 takedowns. Pansear does level up to level 22 and get Flame Burst, which is a huge improvement over Incinerate, which I'm hoping will tip us over the edge when we try again. But ultimately, her Watchog does outspeed Pansear and just wipe it out. So we need to find a really, really good way of getting around this issue. While trying to find ways to make my Pansear a little bit less squishy, I encountered this person who asked me what starter I picked. I of course lie and say Tepig, and she gives us a Charcoal. This is going to help boost Pansear's fire type moves and might push us over the damage threshold. Don't think so, but it's certainly going to help out. Our second attempt against Lenora goes much the same. This time we've leveled up to level 25, and we take out the Herdia in exactly the same way. Although this time we do have to narrowly avoid a takedown miss. When Watchog comes in, this time we outspeed. The speed tiers must have been very, very tight for those couple of levels to have made a difference. I think we lucked out on this one. Anyway, that's our second gym badge. We make our way through the Pinwheel Forest and get a TM Grass Knot, which will come in very useful against some of the later gym leaders. I don't think this run would be possible if it couldn't learn Grass Knot. And we arrive at Sky Arrow Bridge, what is possibly my favourite location in these games. I know it seems silly to think about now, but when this first came out in, 2010, this Sky Arrow Bridge was incredible to look at. The depth of field effects, the way the camera changes, the huge impressive locations. We'd not seen that in a Pokemon game before. We'd only ever seen small pixel sprites. And to be able to see this, incredible. At the end of this bridge is Castelia City, the capital of the region, and again, one of the biggest, most impressive sites in the whole region. It has loads of items we can pick up, which might come in useful, and the gym trainer is a bug specialist, so I'm not too worried about it. Our first stop in Castelia City is right here, where we speak to this scientist who's going to... It's not Pansage. Well, that was close. Who is going to give us a Firestone. That means that we can evolve our Pansear at any point. But because this is a pre-Gen 6 game, any Pokemon that we evolve with a Firestone can no longer learn level up moves. That means that the later we can leave it, the better. I would much rather over-level Pansear than have an under-leveled Simisear who sucks. Speaking of not evolving my Pokemon, this scientist has also given me an Eviolite, which is going to be equipped to my Pansear for a while, I think. The Eviolite doubles the defensive stats of any Pokemon that is not fully evolved. Kind of offsets the downside of not evolving our Pansear until later on. For the time being, we'll stick with the Charcoal since the Fire-type moves are going to be important, but if we find ourselves needing the extra defensive stats, the Eviolite will be very useful. It's time to fight Berg. As a Bug-type gym leader, I'm not too worried about him. Pansear has super effective coverage moves, so should be easy. We take out Whirlipede and Tooth Shakes of a Lamb's Tail, and Dwebble falls fairly soon after that. It does hit us with a Sand Attack, which could cause an issue, but ultimately, we take it out in second Flame Burst. Last in is Leavanny, and that falls to a single Flame Burst. Sometimes Leavanny can be a really strong and dangerous Pokemon, but not in this case. That's our third gym badge, everyone. On our way through the desert, we pick up the TM for Dig. This is going to be incredibly useful against the electric types and some fire types in the future as well. Once we get to Nimbasa City, we get the opportunity to dress up our Pansear. We get to make it look as dapper as possible by giving it a top hat to cover up its pooey hair, and an umbrella and a cane to make it a true gentleman / gentlemanless a true lady. After this, we have a rather uncomfortable ride in a Ferris wheel with the king of the bad guys, Team N. He seems remorseful for his actions, but I think we still have to stop him. I wonder if we'll be able to do that with just a Pansear. They seem pretty strong, to be honest, and Pansear is not very strong. We'll have to see how that goes, I suppose. Ow. Entering the Nimbasa City gym, and I have to say this is one of my favourite gym puzzles of the franchise. That's not true. It's really frustrating to have to sit and wait for this stupid roller coaster, but visually it's very cool. Our battle against the gym leader Elisa is complicated. Now, we all know that her two Emolga have a habit of volt switching between each other. Wouldn't be a problem, but neither of them are weak to ground, which means there's no way of dealing super effective damage for us. Instead, we have to just whack it with Flame Burst. This is going well, as the two Emolga switch in and out, until we start KOing them. Then Zebstrika comes in. Once the Zebstrika comes in, Pansear is just too worn out, and a quick attack knocks it out. We're going to have to level up a little bit and rethink this strategy. Against Elsa, we demonstrate the power of speed control. Now, the first time we fought her, we lost, but the second time, we've picked up the Rock Tomb TM. Not only is this super effective against Emolga, but it also reduces its speed, meaning that we only have to take one attack per Emolga to take it out. I've also leveled up Pansear to level 40, which means it just about misses the kill on the first Emolga. The second one avoids the attack, which is a pain. It does put us behind on tempo, but that's okay. We can cope with that. Since we know that this Emolga is going to be outsped, we can just Flame Burst it. We burn through Elisa's Hyper Potions, and eventually get the kill on this second Emolga. With the Emolga defeated, and Pansear being a high enough level to outspeed Zebstrika, a dig is enough for the one shot. That's enough to claim our 4th gym badge. After we beat Elisa, we have to go around the cold storage and take out Team Plasma. And Team Plasma have never been much of an issue for me, so we're going to skip straight ahead to fighting Clay, the ground-type gym leader of Driftveil City. You would think this would be incredibly difficult, and in fairness, I did try this several times at level 40-ish, where we left off before, and it just wasn't possible. We were being outsped by Excadrill in one shot. Instead, I leveled Pansear up to level 50 to give it enough damage with Grass Knot, a TM we picked up earlier. Grass Knot does particularly high damage to these heavy ground-type Pokemon, and it's super effective. A Flame Burst on Excadrill is more than enough for the kill. I don't like the fact that we have to level up so much, but trust me, it's necessary. I tried this battle several times at several different levels, and it just wasn't feasible. Other than Chargestone Cave, which is really annoying, nothing really happens in between Clay and the next couple of gym leaders. So I thought I'd take this moment to thank you ever so much for your support on the previous video. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go check it out. I'll put a link to it in the description. If you have seen it, then thank you ever so much for the support you've given me. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing on that video. And if you're enjoying this one, then do the same, because it really does help out, and it makes it really, really satisfying to make a video this well polished. Our next gym leader is Skylar, the flying type specialist. Now, because we had to overlevel Pansear to get past Clay, we are kind of overleveled for this as well. Luckily though, that means Pansear knows Crunch to take out Swoobat in one shot. Swanna comes in next, and we were worried about this, but thankfully it just goes for Aqua Ring, and Rock Tomb does over half, so we're able to knock it out on the second turn. Finally, her Unpheasant goes down to one Rock Tomb as well. Fairly easy one. After Skylar, we fight Bryson, the Ice-type gym leader, and no surprises here, Bryson is easy. Bryson is easy for any run-through, but particularly one where you've got an overleveled fire-type like Pansear, even if it is Pansear. So we managed to take it out in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, and move on to some story stuff. Hooray, finally we can stop doing gyms. As soon as we exit the Icera City Gym, we get ambushed by the Shadow Triad, a mysterious group of ninjas. We don't actually learn that much about the Shadow Triad, but they tell us that we need to go to Dragon Spiral Tower, because something's going on up there. I didn't really follow why. We reach the top of Dragon Spiral Tower just in time to see N capture the legendary Pokemon Zekrom. I think this is the first time in Pokemon's history that a trainer in the world has captured the box art legendary. He looks angry. And then Cherin so eloquently voices what we say to Game Freak for designing Pansear. It's time to challenge Drayden, our final gym leader. Our first attempt against Drayden at level 61 has some pretty dire results. I learned quite quickly that we need to beat Druddigon fast. Since our only attacking moves are Flame Burst and Crunch, Druddigon is resistant to Flame Burst, so it will only do half damage, and Crunch makes us take damage from Rough Skin. Between Rough Skin and Druddigon's general damage output, we just can't keep up at this level, so we lose attempt 1. I make another attempt, trying to use Will-O-Wisp instead of work-up strategies to reduce their attack, but it's just not enough. I need to be able to set up. So on attempt 3, I really try. I use Work Up and Yawn to get up to +2 before we even try and tackle Fracture. With Fracture down, we can now one-shot the Druddigon, and actually, because of Haxorus' negative priority Dragon Tail, we can one-shot that as well. That earns us our 8th gym badge, and honestly, not a lot happens in between now and the Elite Four, so let's just skip ahead to there. In Univert, you can challenge the Elite Four in any order you like. I decided to start with Marshall, since I think this is going to be the biggest challenge we face. And I'm correct. I try and stay as low level as possible, because although we don't have a level cap, I want to try and adhere to some form of level cap as we move forward. You'll see how that goes afterwards. My first attempt against Marshall, I try out an acrobatic strategy with no Eviolite. That does manage to deal with the throw, but as you'll see, the Sork has Sturdy. Now, Sturdy is a big problem for us. It means we cannot set up Sweep. We have to be able to tank a certain number of attacks. Otherwise, all of their team just know Stone Edge and we just lose. Attempt 2 ends similarly, but this time Throw just kills us. Attempt 3, we set up with our usual strategy, and, well, Sork uses Stone Edge and kills us. I'd like to point out now that I maybe challenged this Elite Four member 20 times with different strategies, testing it out. I always get crit or an attack misses. I didn't once see Stone Edge miss. Not once! Meanwhile, we level Pansear up to level 70 because I think that's going to be enough. However, as we'll find out later, it just isn't. There's nothing we can do here. I'm in dire straits. The problem is, his Throw and Sork both know really strong moves, like Bulldoze to reduce our speed and Stone Edge to deal massive damage. There's nothing I can do to avoid taking at least 2 Stone Edges from Throw and at least 1 from Sork. I have to be able to tank 3 Stone Edges, and as you know, Pansear is a bad Pokemon. It's not possible. Not at this level, at least. After getting really frustrated by this, I decide to go away and come back. I could keep leveling up Pansear so that we can get over it, but I decide the better thing to do is to retry after we've beat the other 3 Elite Four members, because then we're not just going to blaze through. And even at the current level cap, we're just going to blaze through most of them. Gauntel is next, and as a ghost type trainer, this is why crunch is so important on our Pansear. We do the standard, we use Yawn on Cofagrigus, then we use Workup, and then we crunch. It does a semi-decent amount of damage with a Shadow Ball, but we're high enough level now that nothing they do is really going to affect us that much. I will say though, we do have to be this level. I know that's easy to say, but we would not be able to get this far with Pansear at the level cap. One of the problems of having a mono run like this is that you have to be a certain level to get over those key challenges. Stuff like the Driftveil Gym, stuff like Drayden. And then it gets easy after that, because we can just one-shot every single member of her team. We crunch the Golurk, we crunch the Jellicent, we crunch the Chandelure. It's not that difficult for us. This is at +2 as well. I wish I could say Caitlyn was a different story. She isn't. I was a little bit worried that some of her Pokemon were bulky enough to survive and cause some trouble, but they're not. They do. Rheuniclus does a lot of damage with Psychic, enough to be worried about if we couldn't one-shot it. But we Yawn it. By the time it falls asleep, we're low, but then we outspeed all of our Pokemon because they're all remarkably slow. Rheuniclus and Gothitelle and Musharna, all of them very slow. We even outspeed Sigilyph. And once again against Caitlyn, we crunch. And we crunch. And we crunch. Grimsley is an ever so slightly different story. Again, we Yawn, but his Scrafty, rather than going for a damaging attack, decides to use Sand Attack. This could prove difficult, because suddenly we are relying not on being able to outspeed, but being able to hit at all. You will notice I've had to level Pansear up to level 80. This is just due to damage calcs. We needed to be able to survive, and in my testing, Scrafty or Krookodile were just able to one-shot or two-shot. They were too strong against Pansear before, so I leveled it up to 80. And before Scrafty fell asleep, it managed to get 2 sand attacks off. This doesn't affect us when setting up, but it does mean we miss a couple of shots, and we kind of have to get a bit lucky. When Pansear decides to go on the offensive, we miss our first Flame Burst and take another sand attack. The next shot we do hit and land a one-hit kill on the Scrafty with Flame Burst. Krookodile comes in, and Flame Burst is our best option still, and it does secure the kill at level 80. It didn't before though. Level 75 it would not have killed. Liepard comes in and uses Fake Out, which flinches us and then we miss, but Night Slash doesn't really do any damage, so it's not too worrying. We can afford to miss some turns here. Liepard even adds Insult to Injury and uses Attract, but luckily nothing can actually be attracted to Pansear, so it just burns her instead. Bisharp is last, and again this could be troublesome, but we are super effective, outspeed and one shot. If we'd missed, I think Bisharp would have been able to do heavy damage, but we didn't, so we win. Now for our rematch against Marshall. I level Pansear up to level 100 and get going with the old strat. Now, I assure you, I edited out a lot of attempts here. I tried at level 80, 85, 90, 95. I tried different strategies with Will-O-Wisp and Acrobatics. There is no other way but to be at level 100. There is no other way than to use Yawn and Workup. If you feel like you have another strategy, by all means, put it in the comments. Message me. I'm genuinely curious if anyone else has a better strategy here. Bear in mind, this is just a bog standard Pansear that I caught. Doesn't have perfect IVs or EVs, really. This is just how it is. But we do manage to get past the throw after some setup and a Flame Burst. Although, look, it doesn't even kill the throw in one shot. After some full restore shenanigans, we do eventually take out the throw and get onto Sork. By exploiting some full restore shenanigans, we do manage to end up taking out the Sork as well. And we only really do this because it misses a Stone Edge. Finally, it misses one. Against the Conkeldurr, we do one shot. And finally, Mienshao. Now, Mienshao has Rock Slide, which flinches us. Yeah, it outspeeds, flinches us, and then we lose another attempt. The final attempt goes basically the same way, only this time we don't get flinched by a Mienshao, and we do manage to secure the kill. I'm not joking, I tried that fight so many times. So many times. I'm so glad that's done. Now for what is, even if it's not the best, one of the coolest end games in Pokemon. Rather than fight the champion, we descend into the depths of the Elite Four. We climb the stairs into the champion's chamber, only to find that the champion has been defeated. Our other rival, N, is already there, having beaten the champion and claimed the title. Unbeknownst to everyone else in the Unova region, Team Plasma has been planning for this for decades. They've been burying deep down to create N's castle, to rise up from the ground around the champion's chamber, and somehow it's thunderstorming, even though we're underground. Don't think about that. N's castle rises up from the ground and unifies with the Pokemon League to become one giant structure. This was incredible back in the day. The fact that the cutscene spans across both the top screen and the bottom screen made it really cool back then. And the stairways descending to connect to the main champion's chamber, really, really cool. This is all the first time we had this little plot twist at the end of a Pokemon game. Normally it's pretty clear by now, and all of the bad guy stuff has been resolved long before the Elite Four. N challenges us to rise to the top of his castle to defeat him once and for all. What you have to remember about this is until now, every single gym leader or Elite Four member really has basically had a very small role after they've been defeated. Sometimes they have little things that you do before the gym, like getting the medicine for Ampharos in the Olivine gym, but nothing really significant happens with them. In Unova, you really get the sense that the gym leaders are a key pillar of the community, and they all come together to fight this big bad when they discover it. Really cool. That's one of my favourite clips of all time. It also kind of validates some of the lesser known gym leaders like Bryson, who just kills people. Moving on from that really epic scene, we get a creepy child's bedroom, all deserted and broken apart. Kind of eerie. Actually not, I don't like it. This is apparently where N grew up. I wonder why he turned out to be a psycho. Finally, we reach the throne room, and N summons his almighty Zekrom. Unfortunately, he doesn't realise that I brought an Egyptian god card of my own. No, I can't think of a good... The Blue Eyes White Dragon, except it's red. The Red Eyes White Dragon. It was a rock, and then it came to my aid and helped me by battling me. Try not to think it too far through. I wonder if that Mighty Blaze is enough to kill a Pansear. Maybe we should find out. Can you burn a Pansear? Now we've caught the Reshiram, it's time to finally take on our rival, N. Truth versus ideals. Monkey versus an entire team of fairly powerful Pokemon. He leads with his Zekrom, and I of course lead with Pansear. I put it to sleep with Yawn, and it strikes me with Fusion Bolt. Luckily we have a lot of levels on this guy, and it doesn't do very much damage. As we work up, I contemplate the future. Truth or ideals? Surely we can live in a world with both. Preferably without Pansear. A true utopia. Free of Pansears. At +2 and with nearly a 50 level gain on this Zekrom, Crunch is able to 0-1 shot with a crit. I don't actually know if the crit mattered or not. I assume it did. In comes Caracosta, and again we basically one-shot it with Crunch. Archeops is next, and with a rock typing, it's a bit scary, but once again, Crunch gets the one shot. It's a shame. Archeops is a cool Pokemon. I'd have liked that to be our downfall, but it wasn't. Klinklang, of course, is an easy one-shot with Flame Burst. As is his Zoroark, who weirdly he sends out, but it doesn't have its illusion thing. I don't really know why not. I kind of thought it always did, but there we go. We do end up defeating N fairly simply. In the first battle against Ghetsis, even at level 100 we encounter a problem. His lead Cofagrigus has Toxic Stall. Basically that means that even if we manage to defeat the Cofagrigus, because we're toxic poisoned, we have to really work in order to get past this. As you can see, just his Cofagrigus was enough to basically take out our Pansear. It's too bulky and it can Toxic Stall, which means that there's no way of us beating it above a third health, and Bouffalant just outspeeds and uses Head Smash. At level 100, there is no other way. Pansear is not strong enough, and having to give up the item slot for the Eviolite just doesn't cut it anymore. We have only one option. Days of the defensive Pansear are over. Now we have Simisear. Instead of its defensive stats, Simisear excels in damage. It's able to deal big damage with Flame Burst and Crunch, without having to worry about its defenses. We ascend to rematch Ghetsis. This time it's personal. Cofagrigus comes in, and we don't even need to set up anymore. One crunch is enough for the win. Bouffalant comes back, and Simisear is out for revenge. A Head Smash from Bouffalant would still kill us. In fact, it would do more damage than it would have done to Pansear. But we do outspeed, and a Flame Burst is just enough for the kill. Damn it! But even at level 100, it's not enough for the kill. Bouffalant goes in for a head charge, and we live. It takes a few turns of full restore shenanigans, but Simisear does manage to defeat Bouffalant. Importantly, without the Eviolite, Simisear can hold the Shell Bell. This gives it a little bit of recovery and helps it survive long enough to take out the whole team. With its improved attack stat, we no longer have to rely on Yawn and Work Up, so we can have some coverage moves. When Seismitoad comes in, we have Grass Knot ready. Being able to defeat Seismitoad and Bisharp without taking any hits means that Simisear is basically back at full health when the real threat comes in. Hydreigon enters the battlefield, and I'm still not even sure we can overcome it. Flame Burst doesn't even do half. It's not very effective, and I'm not sure we can manage this. Hydreigon comes in with a Surf. And barely does anything. I think we're going to be okay. Importantly, the Shell Bell activations do make the difference here, otherwise we would not have had enough HP to continue. A critical hit might still have ended us. Hydreigon falls and Simisear is left with about a third, but Electros is slow enough that we can outspeed it and kill it with a one-shot Flame Burst. And that secures the win. We managed to defeat Pokemon Black with just a Pansear and Simisear. You know, going into this I really didn't know if it was possible or not. I really thought this Pansear was just too bad. The little monkey did alright, you know? Well, there you have it. Pokemon Pansear Black. I hope everyone enjoyed. I'm genuinely really curious what you thought of this video and what your least favourite Pokemon is. Do you have one that you absolutely hate and would kick through a blender if you got the opportunity? Did you too hate Pansear and this video has changed your mind? Now I know you must be asking, have I changed my mind about Pansear? Stick around and you'll find out. In the meantime though, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I had intended to get this video done a bit earlier, but a bunch of stuff has happened, haven't been able to. So if you've made it this far into the video, thank you ever so much. I'm so glad that you've managed to watch all the way through and enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, make sure you like the video, subscribe for more Pokemon content, because my next video will either be Game of the Year, or it will be a run-through of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I won't be doing it live like I did last year with BDSP. I will do some form of Nuzlocke in the new year, so stay tuned for that after Scarlet and Violet has released. I personally am so excited for it. You could not believe. Thank you ever so much for watching. I've been Ninches96, and in the next video, we will be in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Ciao for now.